let me just say that again. No one calls me to help the planet and to help humans. Now that's disturbing, because that is the fundamental equation to move society, culture forward. No one's interested. It's really interesting, isn't it? And it took a long time for me to even be confident to say that, but the phone's not ringing, okay? So imagine this is the planet, all right? Dark side, good side, moon. No lower, slow productivity, okay? High performance, up here, productivity, creativity, fulfillment, meaning, belonging, autonomy, competence, all right? There, imagine that's the equator, and it's a thin white line. Job, money, car, house, I'm a Jedi. Blinkers on. Anyone that does anything different outside of that, anyone that talks differently outside of that, anyone that dresses differently, looks differently, is perceived to be smarter, chopped down in a heartbeat. And we call that negative pyramiding. In the personal development scene, they call it burning someone's house down. In Australia, you call it the tall poppy syndrome. I call it achievement anchor syndrome, all right? And in sport, we always see the best in humans, and with children, we see the best in them, try and get them through to where they want to go, and give them the better planet to look after, hopefully. And the last generation probably hasn't done the best job in that, as per David Attenborough's statement in his last book, 39% of forests left. The climate summit at the end of 2021, oceans full of junk, fish stocks depleted, mammal extinction here in Australia alone. We just burnt 1 billion animals through poor fire management a couple of years ago, and we just blew up a 46,000-year-old cave with a room full of master's degrees that couldn't put their hand up and say, maybe this is a bad idea. So that's called culture, and if you make that decision, you don't have a culture. Where the beautiful culture we have here, where I live in, where I'll be buried in, where I work, okay, it goes back 65,000 years, and you can't make that decision, or you wouldn't make that decision as a 14-year-old. So what's the use of studying for 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years, reading a pallet of personal development books, doing a master's degree, getting a PhD, being a psychologist, doctor, environmentalist, work safety officer, if you can't put your hand up and say, maybe blowing this cave up is a bad idea, maybe not sticking to safety protocols on your oil rig when it blows up is a bad idea, as per Deepwater Horizon. Maybe not telling the pilots that the computer override system jumps in and a couple of planes drop out of the sky is a bad idea. And all of it was for that thin white line, job, money, car, house, I'm a Jedi, because it's the pursuit of money. Okay, so once you realise that there's a dark side of the coin and a bright side of the coin, yes, it's a superstructure we have for society to go ahead today, and yes, we do have to be grateful for that. Yes, yes, and yes. However, it's time for the reboot, as the Matrix movie says. We've been down that road, we know where it ends, and we don't like the ending. The mental and physical stats alone in this country, and I'm not going to repeat them right now, you can look them up in your own country, are not good, okay, at all. That includes bullying, anxiety, depression, divorce, death by other means like fatigue, domestic violence, stalking, and suicide. I call that the BADS acronym when I was researching evil and negative health and submitting to parliamentary inquiries. And as soon as I saw parliamentary inquiries not understand it, and people that submitted to it, who are very, very smart people and taught me a lot, but as soon as I saw them not use work that we know is needed at the front lines, I knew they didn't have a verification of competency at the front lines. And if you don't have a VOC in, say, in the mining industry, you're not allowed to drive a 300 or 600 ton crane because you're not qualified to do it and you're not competent to do it. So I call that the Black Hawk Down front lines, and that's the difference. And that's my reasoning as to why that group and the 10,000 news presenters and producers and panelists couldn't do this, couldn't figure out this equation. Like, that's $1 billion worth of university degrees for what? And still burning 1 billion animals as of 2 years ago, and we're still blowing up 46,000-year-old caves. So I'm only giving you a few little examples here today of why I believe that system can help, why it's needed. And if we have those problems here in Australia with food, shelter, water, low unemployment, good hospital care, good schooling, wide open spaces, man, most countries are going to struggle. And we have a small population and we still have those problems here. But luckily in Australia, it looks like we're going to actually lead. There's a few foundations out here in the outback leading that whole internet process, which didn't work, which didn't have any law, any structure, any headmistress, any policewoman, any red light camera, any judge, any real moderator, and it didn't work, okay? So a combination of that and say a 65,000-year-old culture out here where they do have yin and yang, carrot and stick laws to live by over a couple of thousand generations. And it could be argued that the friendliest culture on the planet to be surviving over 65,000 years, when so many cultures around the planet destroyed themselves in that time. So very valuable lessons. They actually align with a lot of the stuff I did at university up here for performance psychology and performance physiology, when we like training Olympians or people at World Championship, Commonwealth Games, Pan Pacific Games, academies of sport, rugby sevens, cricket academies, Muay Thai kickboxers, powerlifters, 8-year-olds, tennis courts, yeah, the whole kit, paramedics, CEOs, cleaners, everything. So it was very, very interesting, all that. But that's a snapshot. I've just loaded 400,000 hours into a few minutes on a clip, and I'm just letting you know where all those equations go and how I just shape this every single day, 5 minutes from when I wake up, right through tens of thousands of notes, sequential notes that are compounding in interest to get up to the highest level I can get to. And so this is the game, this is the equation, that's navigating life, that's a positive system of life, that's a negative one. You're here, you want to make sure you identify the people in your life that are going to push you down here. You want culture tests like that are listed on my podcast, okay, to hold the line, your line with your belief system and your values, okay, at your pace with your genetics, the rule of specificity, okay. That's a high performance rule as well, all right, for productivity, creativity, fulfillment, meaning, and all those buzzwords, all right. That's the equation. I wish it was as simple as that for me. I nearly didn't survive this equation a few times, okay, just to let you know. That includes being stalked and having to go to the police for helping people with this equation, within companies watching people destroy their own teammates with the same badge on them. And that's a complete loss of culture. I don't need to see that any longer for another couple 100,000 hours that exists. Every single month in Australia, we have another company being fined for the full process of dehumanisation. So it's a perfect time. 2022, 2040, restart, reboot, refresh, rebuild, the great reset. I hope you're part of it. I hope you'll assist me in being part of it.